Most people think economic wisdom started with Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or maybe Aristotle. But there's a truth hiding in medieval history that changes everything. Nearly 900 years before the 2008 crash, an Islamic scholar warned about money losing its moral compass. He predicted exactly what happens when money loses its moral compass. When money loses its moral compass, entire societies collapse from within. And looking at our world today, this Islamic scholar understood money better than most modern economists. Welcome to Histo Money, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. To understand Al-Ghazali, one of history's greatest economic minds, picture the year 1000. Europe is poor and fragmented, but the Islamic world, it's thriving. Cities like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo are financial powerhouses. Trade routes carry silk, spices, and silver. Wealth is exploding faster than anyone can understand. In this boom, a scholar named Abu Hamid al-Ghazali emerges. He's part philosopher, part lawyer, part economist. By his mid-30s, he holds one of the most prestigious positions in the Islamic world. But he's different. He refuses to accept the status quo. He sees something disturbing. Society is getting rich, but people are becoming hollow. Markets are expanding, but meaning is disappearing. Sound familiar? Al-Ghazali asks a question that terrifies every civilization. What happens when a society gets rich faster than it gets wise? To answer it, he does something revolutionary. He analyzes money itself. Here's what surprises most people. Al-Ghazali wasn't just a religious thinker, he was one of history's first economic psychologists. While others saw money as coins and calculations, he examined how money changes human behavior, how it shapes trust, how it determines whether nations rise or fall. His first insight? Money is just a mirror. A mirror has no value by itself. Its worth comes from what it reflects. Money works the same way. The gold or silver means nothing. What matters is what money allows people to trade, build, and create together. He wrote this in the 11th century, when most Europeans still thought wealth meant land and loot. From this foundation came his most important warning: hoarded money is dead money. Wealth locked in vaults doesn't circulate, it doesn't feed workers or fund businesses, it strangles economic life. He described it as freezing society's bloodstream. When the wealthy hoard money, they create artificial scarcity, not because resources are lacking, but because circulation stops. Prices distort, markets break, people suffer. Does this sound like modern inequality debates? It should. He wrote it 900 years ago. His next insight cuts even deeper. Speculation destroys trust. Al-Ghazali despised merchants who manipulated prices or exploited crises. He called it profit without contribution. Whoever profits from the suffering of others profits from corruption, and corruption spreads like disease through every market, every institution, every corner of society. If this sounds like commentary on housing bubbles, predatory lending, or crisis profiteering, you're right. He just saw it coming 9 centuries early. But here's the twist. Al-Ghazali wasn't anti-profit. He believed in trade. He believed markets were natural and necessary. He believed wealth could be noble. What he hated was dishonest trade, cheating, lying, false weights, hidden defects, manipulated information. He understood that markets only function when people trust each other. Once trust collapses, the economy collapses right behind it. Modern economists call this transaction costs and information asymmetry. Al-Ghazali just called it reality. He also understood labor differently than most thinkers of his time. Work was dignified. Unearned wealth was dangerous. Money earned through effort builds character. Money gained through manipulation destroys it. This wasn't moralizing, it was practical wisdom. Societies grow strong when people contribute. They decay when people exploit. But his sharpest critique targeted governments.
Medieval rulers often diluted gold and silver coins to stretch their budgets, basically stealth inflation. Al-Ghazali called this theft. Debasing currency eroded market trust. It punished the poor who received weaker coins. It destabilized everything from the top down. He believed governments should protect markets, not manipulate them. Unjust rulers destroy prosperity faster than any outside enemy. Again, the modern parallel needs no explanation. These warnings didn't come from theory, they came from watching real rulers make real mistakes. Political fragmentation was increasing, dynasties fought for legitimacy, and when rulers felt their power slipping, they tightened their grip on the economy first. Some raised taxes to crushing levels, others manipulated currency. Some seized merchant assets, others borrowed recklessly and left future generations to pay.
None of it worked. Al-Ghazali saw why. Corruption at the top radiates downward like poison. When rulers cheat their people, merchants feel justified cheating customers. When institutions lack integrity, individuals abandon responsibility. The entire economic order becomes a chain reaction of distrust. His conclusion was brutal but simple. A society can survive poverty, but it cannot survive corruption. Economic collapse isn't about running out of resources, it's about the breakdown of trust. The invisible glue holding every transaction, every contract, every currency, every institution together. When trust erodes, even the wealthiest nation becomes fragile. This is why currency stability mattered so much to him. It depended entirely on honesty. Debasement wasn't poor policy, it was betrayal. A ruler tampering with currency was stealing from his own people in slow motion. He predicted that if states manipulated currency too often, people would lose trust, abandon local coins, and use foreign currencies instead. 1,000 years later, this played out in Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. Every case where people flee their own money because they no longer trust the promises behind it. Today's inflation debates reflect exactly what this medieval scholar understood. Money is ultimately a belief system. Once people stop believing, the system stops functioning. But Al-Ghazali understood something deeper about human nature. People hoard out of fear. They speculate out of greed. They cheat when they think they'll get away with it. They manipulate money because money is easy to manipulate. They rationalize unethical profits because everyone else does the same. And when exploitation becomes normal, collapse is already underway. This led to his most powerful insight. You cannot fix an economy without fixing the incentives that shape human behavior. Laws matter, markets matter, but behind them are people making choices driven by emotion, ambition, fear, desire. Unless a society's systems align those incentives towards productive, honest behavior, the economy will drift toward corruption, instability, and self-destruction. This is why he emphasized the moral dimension of wealth. Wealth without responsibility wasn't just spiritually dangerous, it threatened the common good. Wealth wasn't bad, just incomplete without purpose. A society grows strong when individuals contribute more than they extract, when the drive to accumulate balances with the duty to uplift. But when wealth detaches from social responsibility, when profit pursuit ignores community welfare, the system becomes brittle. A selfish society eventually collapses under its own weight. And when it collapses, everyone pays, including the wealthy who thought they were immune. Civilizations rise when people understand balance. They fall when that balance snaps. And that brings us to today. We live in a world where Al-Ghazali's insights feel less like medieval philosophy and more like a diagnostic report of our current crisis. Money moves faster than meaning. Wealth inequality approaches levels not seen in centuries. Markets reward speculation over contribution. Trust in institutions declines year after year. Inflation quietly erodes purchasing power. Financial bubbles grow, burst, and grow again with predictable regularity. Everywhere you look, there are echoes of the exact problems Al-Ghazali described just playing out on a global scale. His critique of hoarding mirrors today's debates about billionaires and offshore accounts. His warnings about speculation resemble concerns over housing crises, crypto volatility, and shadow banking. His condemnation of manipulated currency strikes at the heart of monetary policy debates. His belief that trust is the foundation of prosperity explains why nations with stable institutions enjoy stronger currencies and more resilient economies. What's striking is how little has changed. The technology is different, markets are faster, the scale is global, but human behaviors are identical. Al-Ghazali would look at our system, runaway debt, speculative frenzies, widening inequality, political gridlock, institutional distrust, and say exactly what he wrote 1,000 years ago. Where justice is lost, prosperity cannot remain. It's an uncomfortable truth. Economies don't collapse because the numbers stop adding up. They collapse because people stop trusting each other, because incentives reward the wrong behaviors, because institutions fail to uphold the fairness that makes markets possible. Human emotion, human fear, human greed, human shortcuts, these, not abstract formulas, push civilizations toward crisis. Al-Ghazali wasn't preaching religion, he was describing reality. He understood what economists often struggle to admit. Money is not a mechanical object, it's a moral ecosystem. When the moral framework disintegrates, the financial system follows right behind it. That's why his ideas matter today. In an era defined by record debt, speculative excess, institutional mistrust, and financial anxiety, his message becomes a survival principle. If money becomes detached from morality, the system will eventually break. Understanding this isn't just financial education, it's financial protection. Because history doesn't repeat, but if you don't understand it, it'll crush you all the same. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. This is Histo Money, where the past explains the present and the future depends on what you do with that knowledge.